Crypto Ronins of the world, this is the DAO Realist, and today we'll be talking about the whole ledger fiasco. Getting right into it, people are up in arms about this. So much anger, so much hate, says Ledger's co-founder, amid botched recover service launch. So basically what happened was that Ledger recently announced a new service called the Recover service, which potentially could expose your private keys to third parties. And naturally and understandably so, people are furious about this. What a horrible mess. There's a huge negative backlash coming at this from the users. What a horrible mess. I'm devastated. Over here, burn them all. People have gone on to taking hammers to their devices and have been destroying them. They're just furious. They're angry. Look at this. Boom. Oh my God. Yeah. People all over the internet, all over Twitter, you'll see them destroying their devices and then even going as far to torching them after destroying them. Oh my God. This is how they feel about it. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is what happens when you lose trust of your user community. Yep. Yep, that's what happens. You reap what you sow, you get what you deserve. You know, and the reason being, turns out Ledger can hold some of your crypto wallet's keys if you agree to it, right? This is what's gotten everybody crazy about it. And up in arms about it. And if we go to Ledger's official Twitter page, we can see on May the 16th that they came out with their new new service, introducing Ledger Recover, right? They came out with their new service on May the 16th where they spoke about this service called the Recover service. And what it does is that basically the purpose they're saying is that for people who may accidentally or may not feel comfortable in holding their seeds to themselves and being able to manage that and be their own bank, what they can do is they can opt in to allow third parties to have access to their private keys, which then they can verify through KYC, and that can then allow them to get access from those companies, which are three companies. From those three companies, get access to their seed phrase and get access to their private keys. So it's being sort of promoted as a safety mechanism for its users, but the way that the users have taken it is actually as a unsafety mechanism. Basically, they see it as a backdoor to their private keys and access to their crypto, among other things, right? They're viewing it like that. They're seeing it as a massive betrayal, right? And if we go to Ledger's site as well, this was the video that they released regarding the Recover service. The backup solution for your secret recovery phrase. So you can recover your wallet without your secret recovery phrase. Your secret recovery phrase is duplicated, encrypted, linked to your identity, and split into 3 fragments. Each encrypted fragment is secured by 3 different companies. Your identity is the key to your wallet. Verify your identity using your ID, and face recognition, this is going to go into AI and whatnot, to retrieve access to your wallet. Ledger Recover. Wallet recovery made easy. So that's how they've been marketing it. But as you can see, there's a number of issues with that right off the bat. The fact that other parties are going to have access to your private keys, even fragments of it, whatever, KYC is involved, so anonymity goes out the window, and other things as well. So just to get a further look at how it actually works, this is from the Ledger's website, www.ledger.com/recover. And it says how this works. Your private key serves as a starting point for creating a backup of your secret recovery phrase. Here's how. Step number 1. When setting up your Ledger Recover login, you'll first need to verify your identity using your ID card. So this level, step number 1 right over here, right? So your ID comes in first, okay? Your KYC, okay? You'll be asked to connect to your Ledger Nano X. This service is, by the way, for Ledger Nano X. It's not for Ledger Nano S. S for Sunday, right? It's not for that hardware wallet yet, as of yet. It is for the Ledger Nano X, right? X for xylophone. And it gives approval to the creation of the backup to your security recovery phrase. Once approved, your Ledger Nano X will duplicate, right? Encrypt and fragment your private key into 3 parts, right? So right over here, this part that they're showing right here. Okay? You're going to go through the service, you're going to KYC yourself, right? Know your customer through your ID, right? ID identification. And then the process will happen where it will fragment your private keys into 3 parts, right? These fragments become the backup of your secret recovery phrase. These encrypted fragments are securely sent to 3 independent providers, so 3 companies, Ledger, CoinCover, and EscrowTech, right? That will store them in hardware security modules, right? Each encrypted fragment is useless on its own. When you request access to your wallet, 2 of the 3 encrypted fragments will be sent back to your Ledger device, reassembling them to build your private key, right? So there's this communication going on between your Ledger device and these companies, okay, regarding your private keys. The backup for your secret recovery phase is linked to your verified identity from step 1, so only you have access to it. So this is the whole process right over here, okay? And right off the bat, there's some issues. First off, you have a KYC issue. What if somebody is able to impersonate you and able to forge or take on your identity and get access to your private keys that way? The other issue is that the fact that the private keys are leaving the device and what they're communicating with these companies and coming back. So what's happening? There's a backdoor access. Like your private keys are leaving the device and are being transmitted to a third entity, right? And back, even if it's parts of it or fragments of it. You know what's going on here, right? So there's issues with that as well. And then it's the companies themselves. What is the issue? Because now you have these corporations, which are companies which are in certain countries, and they will be subject to the regulations and the government over there. What happens on that front? And there's also a question about collusion between these companies to construct your private key, right? I mean, 3 companies they're working together and they all have one part of your private key. If they put them together, they get the whole thing. Then they have access to your crypto. And this, the phrase "not your keys, not your crypto," that is the mantra of being your own bank. Right? The danger in crypto, that if you don't have full control over your private keys and only you know them, right? Or a trusted source knows them, like someone you trust knows a part of them, right? Then then your crypto is your own. If your keys, not your crypto, that's why people don't store their crypto on exchanges, because when you have crypto on exchanges, anything can happen to the exchange and your crypto can be lost. FTX, anybody? Hello, right? And other things, and other places where this has happened. The whole purpose of getting a cold wallet is to get it off from the danger of it being online, with a hard wallet, with a hot wallet, and also not having custody of your own keys, not having full control. That was the whole purpose. Not your keys, not your cryptos. It is your keys, it is your crypto. So now, people had the understanding that it was your keys, it is your crypto. Nobody else has access directly or indirectly to your secret recovery phrase, your seed word, password, or your private keys in any way, shape, or form. And now, suddenly, out of nowhere, apparently they do with this new service, right? And one of the excuses that Ledger have said is that, oh, we're not going to, it's an opt-in service. Yeah, but an opt-in until when, right? And as you update the firmware, you're going to eventually have to opt in anyways, So the other devices that don't have it, like Ledger Nano S, when will they eventually end up having to have it, right? So there's a lot of questions here. People who are into crypto at this level that are storing their crypto on ledgers aren't stupid, right? Your average Joe isn't storing crypto on Ledger, right? These are people that are into crypto. They understand how it works, right? So when you're going to pull off something like this, you gotta be, concerned about the consequences to launching such a service and what are the implications for your users. All right, and yeah, and basically, it comes down to this basically: your public keys, which is like your email address. It can be publicly known so that people can send you crypto, right? And your private key is like your password, right? Which so that you can access your wallet and get access to your funds, to your crypto, right? So once your private key gets into question, once people have access, corporations, third entities, others have access to your private key, they have access to your funds, right? And whether they have access indirectly or directly. And that is a huge breach of trust and the whole purpose of having cold wallet storage, right? And so this totally, it actually violates the fundamentals of the whole process, the whole purpose of your user base storing crypto on your device, right? So this is it's a serious violation, and it's a serious situation, and we're going to see a mass exodus of people from using Ledger to other devices, which do provide a secure service that protects your private keys. So this is something that Ledger need to think about immediately. It's serious. It is actually a serious situation. People are naturally, understandably so, are up in arms about it, and furious and fuming, and destroying and smashing their devices. Right? Your public key right here, and your private key right here. Right? So this is what's going on. And yeah, and over here, if we look and see, so what's the CEO of Ledger, Pascal Gauthier, right? What's he talking about over here? And he talks about something, actually, a point to brought up that is actually quite concerning. And let's have a look what he says.
The only concern really is if we get subpoenaed by a government to say now, this user specifically, we would like you to retrieve this recharge, etc. So it's not a real concern in the end, for several reasons. One, you only get subpoenaed like this by governments if it's a serious act, terrorism, drugs, etc. It's not true that the average person gets subpoenaed every day.
Can I just interrupt there? Coinbase had all their customer data subpoenaed by the IRS.
So they had to supply every customer was over $10,000. 20,000
over a 3-month
rolling.
And
Coinbase fought back because they wanted about 3,000.
Coinbase is a banking. It's not a banking service.
Okay, so it's very different.
What I'm saying is the IRS wanted that information.
There is no information for the IRS.
Well, you do have XPubs, but you had them before to Ledger Live.
I mean, there is no real information for the IRS on this, etc. And by the way, again, this is. There will be trade-offs in the future.
Yeah, there will be trade-offs in the future. So the thing is that basically what the gentleman here was interrupting the Ledger CEO with was that he just admitted that the Ledger Recovery Service would give the state the ability to recover your Bitcoin private keys, your crypto private keys, in the event of a subpoena. So if the government summons Ledger, they could get they could get access potentially in the future to your private keys, to those private key shards that are divided into 3 parts and sent to 3 different companies, right? 3 different corporations, right? And so that is concerning, 2 of which are, you know, in the UK, and one of them is in the US. All right, so that is something serious. All right, and he just admitted that it is possible, and he says no, but it's only going to be in a if it's a serious situation. But the gentleman who's interviewing him, right, and I believe it's the Bitcoin therapist right here. You can go to his Twitter channel and check it out. He actually interrupted and said that, you know, this thing happened with Coinbase, and they gave all their user data, right? Okay, so this has already happened. It's like nothing new. You know, it doesn't mean that it has to be a serious offense for them to go through this process, as the Ledger CEO was indicating, Pascal Gauthier. And you know what? To be very honest with you, I don't trust this guy at all whatsoever, for other reasons. Over here, let me just pull it up. Over here, he's actually, yeah, he was invited to Davos, Switzerland, to go meet with the elite at the World Economic Forum, right over here. So I mean, if that isn't a red flag, what else is, you know? Almost live from Davos in 2020, right? Big thanks for the invitation.
I would like to start this short video by saying
Let's hear what he has to say.
from the World Economic Forum. I would like to start this short video by saying thank you to the World Economic Forum, and thank you to the French government for the invitation extended to Ledger. We feel very privileged to be here this year. I want to leave you with one big idea, is that crypto is at the heart of the debate at Davos. Crypto is here, crypto was at the web, crypto was around the web. Crypto communities that gathered from around the world to meet here in Davos this week. It was excellent. We had amazing discussions, very good panels. Again, I feel very privileged.
Yeah, so the World Economic Forum and all the people around the elites are very much concerned and focused on crypto. This is from 2020, by the way, and yeah, that it makes sense why they've all of a sudden put this service of control in place suddenly now in 2023. That I'm not surprised. That's a red flag right there. Ledger's closed source, and by the way, their code is closed source currently, but they have spoken now due to the backlash. They are now considering open sourcing it, right? Because he just got such a heavy backlash. Over here, Pascal, the CEO, was saying before, private key could not leave the chip. Now, private key can still not leave the chip. Yeah, he's saying that, but what is the reality? Ledger's closed source. Trust us, bro. Trust us, bro. Just proved it should not be trusted. These devices aren't cold storage. Your entropy seed can now leave the chip, proving it always could. And that's the thing. People are saying, wait a minute, was this just something that was brought in now, or was this always in place since the start, you know? Or earlier on, or maybe ever since launching Ledger Nano X, that it had this capability and that you guys didn't talk about it. You're lying through technicalities. So that's the sentiment right now of the majority of users, that they just believe that they're just straight up lying to us. And they've actually lost our trust, and the only trust they have is their word that, oh, trust us, bro, you know? Bro, trust us, you know? So, yeah, it's not looking good for Ledger. And what's funny here is that somebody actually made a Super Bowl commercial for this whole scenario, and it sort of gives you an idea of what's going on here. And I just want to just check this out.
In 2020, we at Ledger connected your contact details with the world in an event now referred to as the Ledger Leak. But this was but the beginning. Introducing. Trust me, bro. With Trust Me, bro. We're taking control of your private keys, so you don't have to. You still get to pay for the cool, shiny stick to wear around your neck. But your private keys will be divided and stored safely in 3 different companies that you can 100% trust, because that's what crypto is all about. Now, for a small monthly fee, we'll take good care of your fortune. This time around, we know what we're doing. This time, it's different. At Ledger, we believe in second chances and third chances. And besides, technically speaking, it isn't always has been possible to write firmware that facilitates key extraction. You have always trusted Ledger not to deploy such firmware, whether you knew it or not. Bitch. Ledger. Not your keys. Not your coins.
Exactly. Not your keys. Not your coins. That's hilarious, by the way. Trust me, bro. All right. So yeah, that's what this is based on, right? And isn't it supposed to be a trust list system that we're supposed to be involved with? Yeah. So one of the companies, Escrotech, right, which are going to be holding, receiving that information, right? When your private keys are divided into 3 different shards and sent to 3 different companies, right? Escrotech is one of them, and what you'll notice is that they are they're located in the United States, in Utah, Salt Lake City, and they are customers that have trusted Escrotech. They're really servicing all these big conglomerates and the corporate, big corporations, and they're connected with a lot of these corporations. Goldman Sachs being one of their customers, and also Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, other big big companies, as you can see here. So it is curious that what are they up to, and what associations they have. The corporate industrial complex, they are connected to it. So yeah, you can see Goldman Sachs right here, big banks, and others. So it's quite, it's curious to know who they're associated with. The other company, CoinCover, which is playing a main role in this process as well, right? They claim to be making cryptocurrency safe for everyone to hold and use. These 2 individuals, David Jack Zuski and Adam Smith, are heading this company, and they've been they were previously working for the Royal Mint in the UK, and the Royal Mint is the oldest company in the United Kingdom that is owned by the Treasury, right? Owned by the government, HM Treasury, right? And so they've been working there, so you can see the connection between government and this company as well. And if we look at their timeline, in 2019, they were part of the UK government trade mission to the US, right? So interesting. And also Lloyd's of London's insurance backing agreed. So they're backed by big banks as well. So we got Escrotech working with Goldman Sachs, and we got these guys working with Lloyd's, right? Okay. And these are the 2 individuals, the CEO and the technical director, right? All right. So that's just, it's interesting. We see the involvement of, big government and big corporations and big banks behind this. Another company, by the way, that's also, by the way, working with this process, that's doing the ID verification part of it, is Onfido, right? Onfido, which was actually created by 3 individuals from Oxford University, and you can get a sort of an idea of what they're planning to do, their KYC system, using ID verification, and facial recognition technology and AI over here, right? Create trust at onboarding beyond with a complete AI-powered digital identity solution built to help your customers online. Right? So they're creating a digital identity using AI, using facial recognition, using your ID, and this is going to be incorporated with Ledger, connected with your wallet, connected with your private keys, yeah, the whole shebang. So it's interesting to consider that, the real identity platform. And over here you'll see that your face, proof of address report, document capture, face capture, it's all connected, So no more anonymity. It's not only ID, but it's like ID with facial recognition with AI. It's quite, quite deep. And this, by the way, Onfido are mentioned here in this article. London-based identity verification startup Onfido raises 30 million from Microsoft, Salesforce, and others. So we got big tech involved with them as well. And when we look down further, right, this is, by the way, another UK-based company like CoinCover and Onfido, UK-based companies. Escrotech is a US-based company in Utah, Texas, Salt Lake City. These two are based in London, CoinCover and Onfido, and Ledger is based in France. And as we saw with the CEO, he was mentioning that the French government invited them to the World Economic Forum, so we can see the connection there as well. This is founded out of London by 3 Oxford University graduates. It was founded in London, but there's one really interesting point over here, where it's mentioning over here, almost everyone has a smartphone with a built-in camera, and Onfido is able to use this to compare and cross-reference a person's facial biometrics with their identity documents, such as a driver's license. The person's identification can then be checked against a global database for any issues. A global database. So like a one world database, right? Which is going to be connected with your ID, with your facial recognition through AI, and it's going to be connected to your cold wallet and connected to your private keys, in a sense, right? It's all connected. So this is a very, very important point. A global database, right? SBS, Sade Business School in Oxford University. This is where the 3 founding members of Onfido studied from, and this is where it was the brainchild of SBS, and this is the building. Interesting structure, very interesting structure. And because the 3 companies, they're based in the US and the UK, this sort of puts them in view of certain, government agencies, right? Like these guys, right? I mean, it's just something to be curious about, who else is going to be having access to the corporations and their data and to your, your funds, right? Because of the backlash, though, because of all this, Ledger delays plans for a private key recovery service following controversy. All right? So because of the huge and massive backlash, they all of a sudden took a step back, and that's what happens when people get together and they take a stand, right? It always has an effect, and corporations and governments will take a step back and reassess their policies and what they're doing if people take a stand, and so it's important to take a stand for your rights. And over here, glad to see that Ledger is listening to the community, but does this win back trust? Ledger has announced it will pause the rollout of its recovered service. All right, so that's another thing. And the CTO, by the way, of Ledger's mission is and will always be, this is the CTO, by the way, Charles Gulitmer. All right, Ledger's mission is and will always be to provide our users with the right tools to own their digital value securely. So all of a sudden, we have decided to accelerate our open sourcing roadmap. So all of a sudden, they've just gone open source. They've decided to, make it open source, their code and stuff, after the huge backlash and the huge pressure that, you're closed source, so we don't even know what's going on. What are you doing with our private keys, etc., etc. So, yeah. So that is a serious scenario. So they're affected so much that the CTO has actually taken these steps to, try to console their user base. This gentleman here on Twitter gave a really good solution to what Ledger should do from here on out. So he says, I have a suggestion for Ledger that might end this debacle. Apologize for the poorly thought out announcement, right? Don't sign or release the firmware as planned. Instead, create 2 firmware streams, one with recovery and one without. Ship the firmware without recovery. So basically, one thing that the Ledger people were saying was that, oh, this recovery service won't affect you until you opt in, and unless you upgrade to the new firmware, right? So, but the thing is that with Ledger devices, you have to eventually upgrade to the new firmware in order for your device to function properly, in order for the apps to work. So it's just like them saying that, oh, you don't have to get into this now, but eventually you will have to when you update the firmware. But they're trying to use this as a consoling tactic to calm down their user base, but their user base isn't stupid. You know, people who are using cold wallets, they understand crypto, not your keys, not your crypto, right? So they're not, you can't fool them with this stuff, you know, okay? So people caught on to that, and they realized that, you know, that caused even further backlash. So this firmware update thing, you know, hey, you want to create a separate device, you know, that has these firmware things and that has that, okay, but then you create another device that doesn't have any of this, and that's, you know, clear, you know, right? So if the people who want to go for this service and want to go for a device that offers this service, because they're not capable of, you know, securing and holding and preserving their private keys or seed phrases or whatnot, and they want a corporation to be able to back them up, just in case if they lose their private keys or whatever, okay, or they forget it or whatever, then, you know, you can create that. But if you, but for the vast majority of people who don't want that, you need to continue with what, you know, Ledger was previously doing, right, or apparently previously doing, because trust us, bro, is what really was driving this. Now that we look on the whole, the company as a whole in hindsight. You know, so that's something that they need to figure out. Instead, create two firmware streams, one with recovery and one without. One with a recovery service and one without it, right? Because a lot of people don't want it. In fact, the vast majority don't want it. Permit changing streams, but wipe old key materials in a stream change. Publicly and clearly commit to never introduce a feature to existing products in their default firmware streams that permit keys materials to leave the device at any time other than when it is generated. Publicly and clearly commit to always requiring keys be wiped when switching streams. Ensure the prompting around the recover feature forces the users to fully acknowledge and understanding that this feature can make their keys available to government and civil litigants who sue them. All right, so there's a lot of different vectors that this opens up, by the way, this new service. And over here he also mentions there's nothing they can do about the damage they've already done. The sooner they start trying to fix it, the better. So thank you, David Joel Schwartz. You did that was quite a useful and proactive and productive and constructive post there that really gives a solution to where Ledger should go from here on out. If you enjoyed our content, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And also, we do have a Patreon group where we talk about a lot of the altcoin crypto gems that are coming up. We have called 100x plus gems in the previous bull run, and as we're entering accumulation phase, it is important to get in with the right coins early for the next bull run and in between. So we do have our Crypto Ronins group opened up to the public, and you can go ahead and join for a small fee. This is the price of a meal out, but the information that you can receive could potentially be life-changing, right? So that is that, and thank you, and signing off now. Let the gains begin. Ronins rise.